Letting go of the story you thought it would be feels like death. Why? Because it is the death of a version of you that survived by adapting. You weren't thriving, you weren't necessarily choosing, but you were surviving. You were going along to get along in the best way you knew how. And your body learned early on that leaving was dangerous. Not staying in the chaos, but that leaving the chaos was dangerous. And that displeasing others came with serious consequences. They were punitive when you tried to oppose the bad behavior or to walk away or to find something more life-giving, to try to live in a life-giving space. There were consequences for that. You learned that freedom might mean abandonment. People abandoned you when you tried taking your own steps. So, when truth finally shows up, your nervous system panics. Not because you're disobeying God, although sometimes that's what it feels like. It feels like heresy. But because you're no longer obeying the fear that has been driving you. So today I want to name why letting go of the story you thought it would be feels so terrifying. And why, paradoxically, it may be the most faithful, freeing step you could ever take. Your nervous system does not speak theology. And by that, I mean, you can tell it what to do. You can talk about who God is and what he means to you and how to actually try to think about real truth and peace in the situation. But at the end of the day, your nervous system is still going to react to things that come across as dangerous, as punitive, as abandonment, that create fear. And that comes through the patterns of behavior from the people around you. So again, your nervous system doesn't speak theology, it speaks pattern. It pays attention to the pattern happening around you. So if chaos once meant connection, then peace will feel empty at first. If control once meant safety, autonomy will feel reckless. I would say even in the dating relationship, if nice actually translates to threat or there's a string attached, then it will feel boring. It will feel reckless. You won't lean into the relationship because in actuality, nice translates to fear. I think this is why so many people misinterpret anxiety as God's warning and that calm is disobedience, like you're missing something. You shouldn't feel so calm. There's something wrong about that. Your body has been trained to tolerate discomfort, lack of peace, even though we call it keeping the peace, lack of peace. It's been trained to tolerate the hard, the swings from the low lows to the high highs as something good and passionate. But at the end of the day, that is so destructive to our soul. In actuality, discomfort does not mean danger, but it does mean something needs to change. So often with newness, with doing something different, change and growth, that does feel like discomfort. Growth feels destabilizing when your identity is built around survival. If letting go feels like you're dying, it may be because the part of you that learned to endure what is finally being laid down feels scary. Most people say they want faith. What they actually want is certainty, security. They've mistaken faith for security. But certainty has never been the currency of faith. God rarely gives us the full map. In fact, I would be one to say he has a vested interest in making sure that we don't find our security in knowing what's going to happen next. Our security in the full map. He wants us to find our security in him. And so he gives us the next step. He puts right in front of us what he has for us to do, to show up in. And even in that, faith is not confidence. It's not security. It is alignment. It's a heart mindset. Without reassurance, it's believing what we can't see. It's choosing truth, that God is true, that God holds our times in his hands, even when you don't yet know how the story ends. It's moving forward without guarantees that everyone will approve or that everyone will stay. At some point, staying stops being obedience and becomes avoidance. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. Let me say that again. At some point, staying in the chaos that you're in when you become awakened to how much nonsense it is, staying becomes disobedience and becomes avoidance. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. You've been awakened for a reason. Letting go doesn't just mean releasing people or situations. It means grieving the life you imagined would come from staying. Like grieving the family that you hoped would become closer and would soften within the marriage. You believed prayer could fix the story. And you had a community you thought would choose truth over their own comfort. And that grief is real. It is really, really real. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you or that you're weak. It actually is the weight of what mattered. It's the evidence that you hope deeply. But grief is not a mandate to return to the chaos. You don't relieve the grief by returning to the chaos. It is the cost of waking up to the reality. And again, it tells you what you valued. If it didn't matter, you would not be grieving. You don't dishonor the past by choosing life now. You actually honor it by refusing to let the past define your future. You honor it by growing from it so that you can apply what you learn to the future. You don't have to leap. You don't have to burn everything down. You just have to stop pretending that what's killing you is what's keeping you alive. That's just one honest step. One boundary that you could hold for your own self, that you're not going to keep pretending that what's killing you is the thing keeping you alive. It's one moment where you refuse to abandon yourself again. Letting go feels like death because it's the end of the false version of safety. But what comes next is not loss. It's life. The life you choose to live ahead is the life that redeems the story. When you walk it out differently, when you use what you've learned to walk into wisdom and faith, which again is alignment. Faith is alignment with God. God will do what he's going to do with your story. Your job is to show up in it, grieving what mattered, but choosing the life ahead. Actually, and choosing the life ahead. If you want to unpack this more, Lauren or I would love to walk through this with you. Reach out to us at livefound.org. We would love to help you navigate out of the grief and into new life. Thanks for taking the time to sit with me today. I hope you have an awesome day.